Hey, everybody. On the Road with Beards and Dunn is back for another episode. And we have another author. You know, it's been kind of cool since we started doing this podcast. We've had a couple authors who reached out to us and said, hey, would you guys want to read our book, my book about running? And one's a fictional story about a runner. One's the Boston Marathon Handbook. And so they reached out to us and we said, oh, of course, it sounds like fun. And we got to meet interview the authors and kind of pick their brain. And it was a good time. Well, this time we swapped it around and I reached out to the author because it kind of was a personal interest of mine, both personally and professionally. And so we have Lori Sheldon and her husband, Kevin, who we'll get into this. Kevin and I go back to high school days. I ran at Lenox. He ran at Lincoln. He was a year behind me, but we went to South Dakota State together and ran cross country and track. And we stayed in the same dorm up on 4th floor Brown, which was all male dorm. 4th floor was quiet hours. You had to shut your doors and lights down at 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. It was just like a monk's existence, but we were runners. And Kevin and I were monks. And Kevin would come down, and my roommate was Randy Fisher. Randy was my roommate for 3 years, and Kevin was just down the hall. Were you with Rich Billion? Or who are you rooming with?
No, Ralph Borkowski from Huron. Yes. We ended up being roommates for a couple of years, just randomly selected. So he was a perfect. He went to bed before I did.
It was, and so Kevin was up the hall, and we'd go to bed early because it was runners. We'd get up at 6:30, go for a run every morning, and some nights though, you know, with lights 9 o'clock, we'd be ready for bed, and we hear this little knock on the door. Randy Fisher, and we go, who is it? And he'd go, it's me. And we go, and he'd come in and Kevin's name, he had white curly hair. We'd call him Winter Shell. Right. And we go, Winter Shell. And he'd come in, and Scott Weber would do this too. In the dark, he'd pull up a chair and we'd be in our bunk beds or our single bed. And we'd sit there like girls at a slumber party, chit-chatting, swapping stories. And, you know, I have nothing but the greatest memories. And what I really appreciate about Kevin, and then I'll go move on here, is that your wit. Sorry, Lori, I don't know. Have you noticed he's got kind of a sarcastic wit about him? Or maybe that's gone away in the last few years, but I always loved his sarcasm. He had the best.
I thought that I taught him that. I was thinking I taught him
that. I think you both that must have been something that brought you two together. But he always had this sarcastic sense of humor, which I really loved it. And so that was cool. And after I graduated, I was in the 5-year plan. My 5th year, my scholarship, I had a dorm room and it ran out. And so the Bills boys, we all were on the 5-year plan. So I
was on the 1 semester plan.
And we rented Scott Underwood, our coach's basement. He had a 2-bedroom. I don't think it was legal, but it was $50 a month for each one of us. It was $200 for the 4 of us. And we lived in this basement. Kevin and I were roommates. We lived in 1 bedroom, and Mike and Mark Bills lived across the hallway in the other bedroom. And so for that 5th year, my 5th year, his 4th year, we lived together in Scott Underwood's basement. And again, nothing but just great memories. I got injured and Kevin was running great, and I was very jealous and envious of him. And so then I got engaged and married in 1980, and Kevin was such a good friend. I asked him to be an usher at our wedding, and he graciously said yes, and drove all the way down to Spencer, Iowa, and was an usher for Karen and my wedding, and Dick was there, of course, and it was just a great, great memory. Well, then life goes on. We get busy. Everybody separates and moves away. And I'm going to jump to the end of my story. About 2018, I called up Kevin's younger brother, Todd. And I was doing I got to do the Al Stratmeyer Award at Lincoln High School. Al was my best friend and best man at my wedding, and he had passed away in a car wreck. And Todd and Al were good friends, excellent, best friends. And I wanted some information from Todd about some perspectives on Al. So I called Todd up. And, you know, Todd, Kevin's little brother, is just, I always think of him as just a punky little kid. He's the lead scientist at Medtronic in Minneapolis, St. Paul. And when I called him, I go, I had to look in the Medtronic directory. You know, I went to the internet and it said lead scientist. And I started laughing. I called him, I go, it reminds me of, what do you do for a living? Well, I'm a rocket scientist, you know, and he was making these tiny little internal cardio defibrillators we're going to talk to here in a minute. And so I called Todd and said, hey, can you help me out with Al Stratmeyer stories? He goes, sure. And he sent me a whole bunch of really great stories. And then in the chit chat, he goes, how's Kevin doing? He goes, well, we had a heart transplant, don't you? And I go, I about fell out of my chair because that was the first time I'd heard about it. I immediately called Kevin, had a great conversation with him. And the thing I remember about that, Kevin, is you were so full of life and enthusiasm and joy. And, I put myself, I've had injuries in my years and, stuff happens and I sit around and kind of mope and feel sorry for myself most of the time. And you get over it maybe with time. But you came through with just this joy in life about you. And I was just impressed by that. And then shortly, a couple months ago, found out that your wife, Lori, had written a book called Change of Heart. And I thought, well, and I pre-ordered it. And Dick's wife has Kindle Unlimited. And so right away he got on, and my daughter, Sean, I just talked to her yesterday, told her what we're doing, and she's got Kindle Unlimited. And so hopefully you get a big kickback every time these people go. You guys are making a fortune here.
Lori, I got to say.
Anyway, so we're going to get into this.
Well, Lori, and I got to tell you this. So since 7th grade, I've read 2 books since then. One was a couple months ago, The Front Runner, we did this interview. And then I read your book in one sitting just a couple, 2 or 3 days ago. And it's given me shivers talking about it right now. It is an amazing book. I could not turn the pages fast enough. And the journey that you, Kevin, and your daughters went on, it is one of the most inspiring, uplifting, great ending stories I've ever read. So thank you for doing that. I'm sure it wasn't easy. And, you're telling your life story to the world. And boy, hats off to you, Kevin, and your whole family.
Yeah. So
thank you.
Let's get into that. So Kevin, you kind of back up the chair up a little bit. We're going to pick Lori's brain, but you pipe in whenever you feel it's appropriate. Right. So Lori, what was the inspiration? I kind of picked it up in your book. I think you kind of explained it, but what was the catalyst? What was it that flipped the switch? So I need to put this down in writing.
Well, I knew I had journaled my way through this very hard season in our life because that's the way that I process information. I'm not very outgoing with my feelings. And so it's really helpful for me to be able to write things down and to get it out of me and to kind of explore how I'm feeling about things. So I had journaled this whole process, and I kind of knew when we were going through it, I thought, I think that this could be a good book at some point, but it was very, very vague in my mind. Cool. So then when, it was years and years after, probably 4 years after Kevin's transplant, that I had the opportunity to meet someone. I had hired this handyman to come to the house to do this small little project. And while he was working here, he and I got to visiting, and he also had a podcast. And so we started talking about his podcast. And when he went to leave after the project was done, I checked out his podcast, and I happened to randomly pick one. And he was interviewing a woman who was a ghostwriter. And she was talking about her experience in writing a book. And I thought, you know what? I really need to get serious about this. I need to write this book. I had already done some things on the computer where I had just kind of scratched out some notes, but I didn't know the process. So I reached out to the handyman and I said, hey, I really appreciated your podcast where I heard the ghostwriter explain her story. You've motivated me to get really serious about writing this book. He called me right away and he said, Lori, my podcast partner is a writing coach. Would you like me to connect you with him? And I go, I would love that. So Kevin and I did a couple phone calls with his coach to try to make the decision if it was the right idea to hire a coach to, help me through this process. And that was the best decision we ever made because he kept me accountable. He kept me on a schedule. I made it very clear to him that I wanted it to be my writing and my words and my perspective. I didn't want any sort of a ghostwriter. I mean, I wanted to do it myself, and he really, really helped me with that. Yeah. So I spent 9 months with the writing coach, and once we got to the publisher point, when we got to that point, then I selected a local publisher here in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, which again was just a wonderful decision because I was able to just meet him for coffee. I was face to face with my publisher. He assigned me an editor, and she was very well matched with me. Her and I worked so well together. And I think she took my book to another level with her editing ability. And I just had people walk me through the process, which was exactly how the book went as well, because we were introduced from one wonderful doctor to the next wonderful doctor that eventually led us to the point where we got to Dr. Cogswell and she made the decision that Kevin would need a heart transplant. So I feel like our story really is, when you pray, God brings you to the right people. And that has happened for us.
I love that in your book, because you said that numerous times in the book, and it's so true. And I mean, how anybody could get through anything, let alone what you guys went through, without incredible faith, Wow.
It was everything.
No, that's, people kept coming in that, let's just get into it. In 2013, I'm going to kind of try to remember this from the book chronologically. You noticed somebody diagnosed you with a cardiac or abnormality, an arrhythmia. I've had that. I think any runner who's run a lot, we have some goofy, large left ventricles. We have bradycardia, which is a slow heart rate. I have an inverted T wave, which I always kind of wondered about that. And, and sometimes it'll flip up, sometimes it'll flip down. And doctors goes, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. So I don't worry about it. And then, and so you kind of go, that's no big deal. But then in 2014, this AFib, atrial fibrillation event, and some people don't know it. You knew it because you had symptoms with yours, Kevin?
Well, in 2013, I had my main practitioner just detected a weird heart rhythm and stuff, and he went through that, and we did a cardio to check out my ejection fraction,
echo,
and it ended up being 65.
Yeah, excellent.
65 is really normal. It's good,
excellent,
right? And right, and then 6 months later, I have an AFib attack in 2014, and afterwards they let me go. They restarted my heart, and then I got a phone call basically telling me, the heart doctor tells me that my my ejection fraction is down to 35.
Let's
out of 65 to 35 in 6 months.
Let me stop for just a second.
So,
what
does that mean, Doc?
When your heart beats, it squirts out blood. It's a pump, and it doesn't ring out 100% of the blood in the left ventricle. It rings out about 50 to 70%. And Kevin's 65 is high normal.
Yeah,
and so it's a sign of a good athletic, probably a strong left ventricle.
Yes.
And then when you mentioned you restarted your heart never quit, but your heart was out. The timing was out. I was telling Dick, it's kind of like the old pickup truck when the distributor cap, your timing belt was slipped, and it ran like crap. It would backfire, hard to start. And what they actually do is they shock your heart. It's called cardioversion, and they actually do. Yeah. This sounds kind of creepy. They actually shock your heart electrically to stop it. And let the regular rhythm, the SA node, the sinus atrial node, regain control, and the natural rhythm. Yeah. It's kind of like they reset your timing belt, and that's cool. And a lot of times that'll take care of the problem, and life goes on. Unfortunately, not always.
Yep. Not always. Kevin,
but the real concern was from 65 to 35. That's shocking. For a heart specialist to go, why would your heart function diminish? Why is your left ventricle weaker by almost 50%?
Right. I was explaining to him that, I took care of myself. And the day before that, I had been in the gym, and, for example, I did, 3 sets of 8 by 245 in the bench. So I go, no, this isn't right. Something's wrong.
Did you feel it that day when you were lifting that something wasn't right?
Well, so that's a great question, because when it was the day before it happened, and I felt like I was doing a bench, and it was just like a click, and I go, oh, that was kind of, and I don't know what, but anyway, I finished the workout. And then later on, I was in the garden, and I got lightheaded a couple times, got going up and down. And at that time, I think I was probably in like 160, beats per minute, rhythm. Didn't know it because you're in good shape, and I just hadn't really detected it. Then I could tell that night, I'm laying in bed, I'm going, this feels weird. And I got up, put on the blood pressure cuff, and my blood pressure was 120/80, fine. But it would not detect my heart rate. I'm just going, why is that? And then finally it does, and it's 160. And I go, oh, we have a problem.
Yeah.
So
that's called uncontrolled atrial fibrillation. Yeah.
Right. So I was basically in that first time, 160 beats per minute for about 18 to 24 hours, somewhere in there.
Can you imagine
without
that?
being able to? So I was in good shape. So I didn't really. I couldn't.
Were you in pain or anything, Kevin, at that point at all?
I uncomfortable all through this whole process. I can't ever say I had pain, uncomfortable, nausea, dizzy, everything. Never an ounce of pain. Wow. I never had like a sharp pain, like our chest deal that would just so tight. Never had that during the whole process from really even after my transplant. I never had any chest pain. When they separate the ribs, and I never had rib pain.
Oh my gosh!
I just look at
drugs.
Yeah, right.
Nah, he's a runner. He's tough.
That was before the drugs. So yeah.
In 34 years of doing cardiac rehab, I talked to probably several hundred bypass patients, and you'd run into guys like Kevin. I didn't have any pain, and you want to go. You can't. That's not. How is that possible? But that's a blessing. That's a blessing, right? Because a lot of guys do have quite a bit of discomfort. And I want to just throw in a little personal thing. I can attest to Kevin's regimen of working out, because my younger brother Rick. I talked to Rick the other day, and I said, "Hey, I'm going to interview Kevin and his wife about this." I told him about your book, and I think Kevin knows my brother Rick, because Rick was a gym rat,
yes,
and Rick goes, "Rick, I see Kevin at the Y every day." He goes, he'd be, because
back in the
day, you'd always come out. He goes, "Hey, come out and watch us," because you'd live for a while, take a break between sets or whatever. You'd wander out to the gym and see, watch the game for a little bit, because he goes, he'd always come over and comment and chit chat and that sort of thing. And that's just the kind of guy you are, you social. But he was a witness. Kevin was there. He was at the Y daily. And so now we, so you're dealing with this cardioversion. You go in, and Dr. Scott Fahm, and I know Dr. Fahm personally. I worked with him for a number of years, and he is the nicest guy. A lot of the doctors, you know him professionally, and I was at like Walmart, and he was there with his wife and kids. They're probably like freaking 20s now. But he was the kind of guy that would come up and go, "Hey, Mike, how are you doing?" And again, it was always like an honor that the physicians, because these guys are unreal. They're rock stars. I was a roadie, and I worked for them. And that he would go out of his way on a personal time to say hello and that sort of thing. And a lot of the doctors, you might say hi to them and they might kind of give you the nod or something. But no, he was the kind of guy that was a nice guy, and smart. I mean,
he was a huge
electrophysiologist. I couldn't even think of being a medical doctor, let alone a cardiologist, let alone an electrophysiologist. I mean, it just gets more and more and more like brainiacs.
I can't even spell it.
I know. Yeah. That's a good point, Dick. But anyway, so you were in good hands. I really truly believe, and Lori, I think that comes through in your book about people coming into your lives at the right time, at the right place. Right. And, I think it was probably a frustration for him until, I think we're kind of jumping ahead a bit, but why is this happening? Because how many cardioversions? Well, a cardioversion is an electric thing. And then we get into a procedure called an ablation. And Dick called me the other, was it early
this morning?
What the hell is what's an ablation? How'd you pronounce it? You didn't even say it right, Dick, but it's okay. An ablation. And I tried to explain it to him, and it is like science fiction. I said, they can go into your heart. They can go through either the veins of your heart, and they map and they try to induce the rhythm, find where this little group of cells is causing the problem, and they zap them either with electrical heat or with cryo cold, which is like burning it. And they try to block the impulse from causing trouble. And it's like, and I even right now saying it, go, what? Yeah. And these guys know how to do it.
When they did that to you, do they knock you out? Are you feeling what's going on?
Well, here's the deal. How long was the heart transplant?
5.5 hours.
5.5 hours. Where the ablations that we did were up to 8 hours.
Oh my gosh!
And you're on the table.
So yeah, right. So you go in the very first one, for example. The first one was Dr. Fahm, and it was not successful. We were in Sioux Falls, and that's when he took. And we really thank Dr. Fahm for this. He got us in touch with the University of Minnesota and Dr. Rukos, who is just absolutely brilliant and takes the ablations to another level. where they're not even they're going in and zapping the inside and outside with a couple going in through the groin on both sides, basically. So it is true science fiction.
Yeah.
I can't even fathom what they're doing. They map out the heart. They try to find where the beats are coming from. Basically, I had 3 of them with Dr. Rukos, but the very first one, they put me under, and they put me under deep, pretty deep anesthesia, and after about 5 hours, they can't induce the ventricular tachycardia that they wanted to see, and so they actually woke me up.
Oh my
halfway,
gosh!
Through the operation, I wake up, and they're trying to get my heart excited, and it worked because I woke up and I'm slightly pissed off.
They should have just got Lori in there. That would have got you excited. Okay.
Right.
Kevin, we're still operating on you. And you kidding me? So, and then, so he, well, how you doing? I go, my back is killing me. And Dr. Rukos replies, it's been 6 hours. My back is killing me.
Yeah, quick, quiet, quick whimping out. That's funny.
Right. He was quick crying. So anyway,
that's commendable.
We just went through that ablation.
It's commendable.
It's very cool and stuff. It's a very long process. It's very serious, but it just didn't work for us.
I think it's commendable that Dr. Pham, I think that's a sign of an excellent physician when he goes, I'm taking this to the next level. Because a lot of guys are egos and pride will say, I can do this. I'm the man, that sort of thing. And you have to really respect that. And then, the patience those guys have, because I know I got to work with 2 electrophysiologists here in North Carolina, and sometimes it is very frustrating for them. But at the same time, they understand that every case is unique, and they just have to, tough it out. So you went through 4 different episodes of ablations to try to stop this arrhythmia that kept coming back. And when your EF got low, we're going to get into another device here called an internal cardio defibrillator. It's a pacemaker, and pacemakers have been around for probably since the 60s. When people's heart rhythms aren't beating properly, they can electronically manage that with a little, and they used to, and you can see people have pacemakers, they'll have a little lump under their skin. Right. Sometimes you can see where it's implanted, and it's an electrical impulse that keeps the heart regular, and it won't let it go too slow. It can help. And then with these arrhythmias, they put in on TV, they always show people when they go, okay, we got to get the defibrillator in here, and they get the paddles out and they jumpstart somebody's heart. Well, that's cool if you have a paddle defibrillator sitting around everywhere at 24 hours a day. Unfortunately, that's not very realistic. They put them in airports and stuff like that, but Todd Sheldon, I think, probably was involved in this somewhere, said, let's create a device that we can put inside of people that will monitor their rhythm, will determine, it's a computer that will say this person's rhythm is too fast. This could be pathological, could be fatal. And what we need to do now is shock the heart to stop it and let its natural rhythm restart. Because this could happen in the morning. It could happen at 6 a.m. It could happen anytime. And again, Lori having to have a defibrillator with paddles handy, following you around all day is just, it's not reality. And they have them, and they're amazing. And you got one for sure. And I think I read in the book, it actually did fire.
2 times, yeah.
Well, twice. Same episode, same day, probably 10 minutes.
So now, Dick, imagine this. So Kevin's just doing his life, and all at once, Kevin, what happened? Bang, you got an electrical shock directly to your heart. And how did that feel?
It sounds horrifying.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you, did it knock you down?
So I didn't expect the first one. And what it was to me, it was people say it probably getting hit in the back, maybe a little bit. But it was, for me, it was more like somebody just, boom, like that. It was just, and it kind of rang in my ears and stuff. It wasn't like it knocked me down. I know everybody's different and stuff. And again, then it happened again. It was more scary. It was just more like the surprise. Yeah. It wasn't horribly painful again, that pain deal. It didn't really, what pain is running behind you guys for 15 minutes, for 15 months. that's pain.
I love,
long excruciating pain.
see,
So maybe I paid my penance
You're
back
one
when I
tough
was
nut,
20
man.
years
you
old.
are.
I don't
Well,
know.
it's commendable because most guys I've talked to said it felt like I got kicked in the chest by a mule. That seems like the common reply. I got kicked
Right.
in the chest like a horse or a mule,
Yeah.
just nailed, like somebody just thumped me. And it does some almost like Dick said,
Right.
almost like knocks him for a loop. I think I'm going to be honest,
Right.
Kevin, you've bulked up over the years and your musculature.
Maybe that had
I
something to
think
do
so.
with
I think you're able to absorb a lot more
it. Yeah.
impact now than a bony
Maybe,
noodle.
maybe,
Anyway.
maybe that's it.
Well, so they're concerned, and it's like, okay, your ICD's firing, which is if you hadn't had that thing implanted, I hate to say you could have passed out
Yep.
due to such a poor perfusion. When the heart's beating so fast, it doesn't have time to refill. It's kind of like a gun. You're shooting blanks. You're just, it's just bang, 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 bang. There's nothing coming out anymore. And so you pass out because your brain says, well, I can't function without more.
Keep in mind, well, one of the things was too, as this, it started off in 2014. I had 160, beats per minute was kind of my top. That's where I was at. By the end, I'm also at that point. I'm taking numerous beta blockers and things to keep control over my heart. So my heart was probably, when I was maxing out, and they had to lower down all my readings on my on the pacemaker, because my maximum heart rate was probably 110.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so they had to adjust those things, because that 160 heartbeat, beats per minute was long gone.
Wow.
So it's, things were deteriorating as time was going on.
So finally, and now I think I remember in the book, your ejection fraction, correct me if I'm wrong, like 20%. It got that low?
Oh, no, it was under. When we were down in Dallas, it was under.
Oh my
10.
gosh.
Oh my goodness.
So we were down to. It was down to, we were very close. We were cutting up
So
very
Kevin,
close.
when you would get up at night when you're down in Dallas before the transplant, just like say walking to the bathroom, was that an effort in itself?
We talk about like when I was at the U of M. I was at the U of M for how many days? 36 days. When I got there, I was very focused. I would take 3 10-minute walks throughout the day. And my brother said with at that time my ejection fraction was 15 to 20. He was saying that I was setting world records for speed for a guy with a ejection fraction of 15 or 20. And by the time my aerobic activity at day 36 at the U of M was getting up and going to the bathroom. Our taking a shower was like sitting down taking a shower. So things were not going in the right direction.
Lori,
by the time we got to Dallas,
yeah,
I was doing, not doing.
I think that's where Lori's story is so effective, is, having to be the number one supporter, witness, every step of the way. Kevin's living it. You're the next closest thing to living it. Your daughters, and then again, your family and friends who were there offering their assistance. You mentioned Mark Steinborn, and Mark's a good friend of Dick and mine, and Mark passed here several years ago. And having people like him in your life help,
Right.
Help tremendously, because they understand, they're helping to explain, they're helping to reassure. And so I can't even imagine though, Lori, I'm trying not to get emotional here, because, to watch a spouse, I mean, it's one thing to see my dad died of heart disease, and that's a trauma. And to see a friend go through, when Dick went through his medical issues, it just tears you up and you feel so bad, but it's not your life. It's their life that's being, and you feel bad, but you took those marriage vows very seriously, Lori, for better or for worse, and health, and all that. I mean, that when you make those things, you don't really always realize what you're getting in for, but you definitely got into it. And so I think, your willingness to kind of share your side of the story. I think Kevin's side of the story is kind of the exciting, let's hear what it felt like, and, all that. You, on the other hand, you just had to be there. There was no, and I think your honesty really comes through, your denial, you talk about that. I loved the part of the book where he said small talk drove you crazy. You're going through some serious stuff, and people at the grocery store going, "Hey, how's your day?" And you want to just reach over there and smack
that
them
was a
across
great
the
part.
face.
I love that part.
I know. I just had to chuckle, because I thought I would have drove this poor woman nuts at that point in her life. She'd have shot me,
Right.
because it's like Mike's too fun. He's having too good a time, and it's not that good of a time here right now. And so your honesty really came through, and I think that's what a lot of people, when they're going through stuff like this, they think there's something wrong with me. Why am I so angry, or why am I, and the denial. I think Dick and I both are denial experts, because we'll be in the middle of it. Like Dick's knee is infected and looks like it's going to fall off, and he's out fishing with the darn thing. And I'm just like, what's wrong with this guy? He should be at the doctor's office. And Dick's, it'll be all right. It'll be all right. And that's probably part of his success as well, as his internal optimism.
Well, and
stuff.
Lori, the emotional ups and downs in your book, it was just riveting. And then when one of the doctors wanted to see if they could get you down at Baylor University and maybe move up on the transplant chart, and because of they have more opportunities down there, and that doctor just, going the whole 9 yards to make this thing happen, and it did. And I'm giving myself shivers just talking about it.
The insurance
that must
company
have been an amazing time.
It just frustrates when the insurance company goes, "Oh no, we're not going to." He's at a transplant facility, for 36 days, and things are not going in the right direction. And your doctor says your chances are going to be better there. We're going to get you there, and your insurance company goes, "Yeah, no, I don't think so." And you want to go, really?
Right.
So Lori, me. Oh, yeah.
Lori, tell us about that. What was that like? Just the emotional ups and downs for you and your daughters.
Yeah, I think Kevin has often said that it was probably harder on the people around him than it was on him, because I could never. I was constantly watching him. I was keeping a really sharp eye on him, but I never really knew how he was feeling. I could tell there was times where, he was having an episode that it wasn't good, and I also would have looked like a really crappy person if I'd have walked out on him when he was that sick.
Yeah.
That would have made me look bad. So
It's all about looks.
I had to stay.
But Lori, people do it, and it's commendable. There are people, and you got to kind of sometimes forgive them, because maybe it's overwhelming. But no, you bucked up, and so I think that came through in the book.
Yeah,
you bucked up.
But yeah, that female cardiologist in Minneapolis, Dr. Cogswell, she is truly our hero. And I remember when I was at home and Kevin was in the hospital in Minneapolis, and she came in his room, and I was talking to Kevin on the phone, and he put me on speakerphone because she wanted to talk to both of us. And she said, "I'm just going to throw this out there. Would you guys have any interest in going to Dallas? Because I do have a colleague in Dallas that I could make a phone call and maybe they would take you. And I really think you could get a heart there faster." And I truly think that she just didn't think Kevin was going to make it long enough.
She sounded like a saint, this Dr. Cogswell.
She really, really cared about Kevin. I could tell that.
I could tell that in the book.
Immediately when she proposed that idea to Kevin and I, even though we weren't in the same room, I was home, he was there. We both said, absolutely. Yeah, we'll do whatever you say. Because Kevin and I had decided if Dr. Cogswell says it.
I love that part of the book, Lori, where you said that in the book, that Kevin and I decided if she says go hit our head against the telephone pole, we're going to go do it.
Right.
Well, it's like hiring consultants. You get 3 different consultants. Which one are you got to pick one. And I think you obviously went with the one that was in your heart. So.
And she worked with our insurance company. She didn't have an assistant do it. She didn't have a nurse do it. She did it herself. And she said to us, "Just give me some time. I will get to somebody at your insurance company that will listen to this, and we will get this done." And she did. She did it.
Kevin, you were going to say something.
Control.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, until we met, starting in 2014, we had nothing. You looked at a road, and we had nothing but bad news from 2014 until we met Dr. Cogswell in December 2017. We had nothing but bad news. We always kept good spirits. I always had faith that we were going to find something, but we really had no basis of that until we met Dr. Cogswell, who found they found out what was wrong with me, and then that led to being put on the heart
let's
transplant.
talk about that, because people might be listening, go, well, what happened to this guy? I've heard, now this is not you, but drugs and alcohol can ruin your heart. Viral infections can infect a heart muscle. There's hypertension can wear out your heart, high blood pressure, uncontrolled diabetes. There's a whole list of things that can cause what kind of get lumped under the category of heart failure, which is kind of a huge term. And finally, somebody's like, I think in the book, it said, why was it Dr. Cogs? I can't pronounce her last name. Cogswell. Or somebody said, what is happening here? And they finally did some, I guess you'd call it microbiology, where they take a little bit of heart sample. They go into they look at it and they go, we see what's going on here. And it was an autoimmune condition called sarcoidosis. I've worked with pulmonary patients that get pulmonary sarcoidosis and cardiac sarcoidosis.
Right.
Basically, your heart's just, I had one guy describe me, it's turning to wood. I go, what? He goes, it's just scarring up. Yeah. It's just scarring up. It's not working. And then all the electrical systems are being short circuited because of this, which leads to all these arrhythmia issues. And it's going to be terminal. I don't know how they can stop your autoimmune system from attacking it. Well, go ahead. Do you guys?
Well, go ahead. Tell them about that first meeting with Dr. Rucos when we began to put this stuff together.
Yeah. So I think he had done Kevin's second ablation, and Dr. Rucos talked to me after the ablation, and he said, this is not, his heart is done. It's dying, and he goes on, and I don't understand it. He goes, I don't understand why this healthy 59-year-old man has got such a bad heart. And he goes, he's in good health. The good thing about Kevin is his kidneys were strong, his lungs were strong. Yeah. All of his other organs had not been affected because he got such efficient treatment. If he had been allowed to just suffer longer and longer and longer, those other organs would eventually have been affected. But we had such stellar treatment with one doctor to the next that just escalated this fairly quickly. It didn't feel like quickly at the time, but really looking back on it, everything moved so fast that his body was still healthy and strong when he got the transplant. And that was so important when it comes to recovery.
So they tried to manage the condition with medication, steroids, all the prednisone, all these kind of things they can use to knock down your own immune system to kind of give your body a chance to extend your life. And unfortunately, then the U of M wasn't working out. The doctor suggested Dallas. I love in the book where the phone rang. Kevin didn't answer it because he assumed it was spam.
Yes.
And it was a call saying, hey, we got a heart. And it's like, I'm not answering the phone. Kevin, if they would have went, well, he didn't answer, go to the next guy on the list.
I know.
Yeah. Oh, my God. That was a classic.
I'm glad you mentioned it because it just shows it's just life. It's just, I get calls all the time and I look and it's 605 South Dakota. 99% of them are spam. And I let it go to voicemail.
But we had been told when he was once he was on the wait list, they said, we need you to answer every phone call. So we had been told that, but by then he was in the hospital. So he was like, well, I don't know.
And I love how it said the doctor stuck his head in the door and said, Kevin. And it's like, well, why didn't the guy just come down and say, we got a heart? Why did they call? I mean,
right. So I don't know what the drama thing is, but he came up and goes, you're not answering your phone call. Wow, we got your heart.
Well, I was in the bathroom. Sorry.
So Kevin, so when that doctor poked his head in, says, Kevin, we got your heart. What was your initial thought, feelings?
I mean, first you're stunned, and then I'm going, okay. And right now, I every time that I'm kind of asked that question, I flash back to that moment, and I get kind of emotional because it was. I mean, life changing.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, unbelievable. So I called Lori, and I think I kept it together pretty good with you. Kept it together. And she is just they're flying. And my daughter Brooke was there, and they're just they're fired up. So I'm running on a high and stuff, and I'm just going, oh, this is great. And so she's in charge of calling the kids, and I'm going to call my brother Todd and my sister Sheila. And then it really hit me when I told Todd about it.
Yeah.
and we kind of both got a little more.
I'm getting emotional
and
right
stuff.
now.
I don't know why. Yeah, right. I don't know why it was with Todd. It was just, and then again with my brother, and maybe because they weren't there, and I know they kind of wanted to be, and it was just it's a feeling you never. I'll never have again. It was just.
I'm going to go out on a limb here and ask a question. I don't know if you're comfortable with it. Did you have any? I'm trying to think of the right word. I don't want to say guilt. Somebody passed for you to get a heart. Did that? Not that I'm blaming. That's not your fault. That's not your fault.
I get, and here's the thing. I have a very dear friend in Arkansas that really he really felt that.
Jimmy Taylor. I love that.
Yes,
we're going to get to Jimmy here in a bit. Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, right. But his so I think he had some
guilt,
he really
survivor guilt,
worried about that.
Yeah.
Survivor guilt. Yeah.
For me, I hope this doesn't sound awful. Not at all. I was so incredibly grateful. I was grateful for the heart. I was just grateful to God who got me the heart. I truly, absolutely look at it as it's a gift from God.
Dick, are you an organ donor, Dick?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Me too. And I would be so honored if I don't need my heart anymore and somebody else could use it. I would think that would be just the best thing in the world. So I think hopefully that's the attitude. I'm 67 years old now. I wonder if they'd still take it.
I have to tell them.
No, they're not going to. They're not going to take your heart.
Oh, seriously?
So seriously, 40 years old is the cutoff.
Really?
Just let me.
But you can give
Corneas,
other stuff, so
things
still
like that.
They can.
Yeah, there's a lot of other stuff.
I did not know that.
But the heart, even you two, stellar cardio machines have some stuff that's just that 60 years cannot erase.
So
sorry, guys.
Lori, so you get the phone call from Kevin, and basically they were going to load him up on a chopper, and you had to get to back to Minneapolis, or
no. So I had been on the airplane with Kevin when we flew down to Dallas.
He was there.
So I was in.
That's where you got the call for the heart. Okay,
right.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so she flew down there with me.
We had only been in Dallas for 4 days.
That's
and we got
amazing.
the call that they had
It was amazing. It was everything. All of a sudden, after 4 years of total disappointments, things just the last few months things just fell into place, and it was just like one good thing happened. After
I hate to
another.
rush us, but we're gonna run out of time. But here, let's talk about post. Okay, the surgery happens 5 hours, 6 hours later. I know Lori does a great job of describing in the book. It's brutal. Those first 2-3 days, the pictures of Kevin are hard to look at because he's got like tubes and wires coming out every part of his body. And he's just basically his body has to heal at this point. And it was so hard when it said that the doctor said to your daughters, try not to talk to him. It's like distracting his body from focusing on. And to me, that's a bunch of crap. Talk to that guy, because I think it's your spirit, that your attitude and and so I again, you got to kind of trust the doctors, do what they say, I guess. But then finally, Kevin, do you remember how many days did you lose? Do you know? Did you wake up and go, what day is it?
Hours.
It was hours.
That's right.
Guys,
wow.
Seriously, it was hours.
It was maybe 18 hours, maybe.
So the next day after the surgery, you're talking to people and
wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh yeah. And
they took him off the velator. Maybe within 12 hours of surgery.
Strong lungs.
I wake up and I can't figure, and I vividly remember this. I had what was it? Brooke and Bobby.
Yeah.
Brooke and Bobby were waiting. They had been taking shifts, and they had some harder times in those first 12 hours. But now I'm conscious, and I can't talk. I can't figure out that I've got a hose down my mouth, and also I'm trying to take the hose off. Well, they've got my hands taped, so I can't do anything. So I'm just, it was ridiculous. The first hour trying to get the thing out of my mouth and stuff. But
so Kevin, could you?
But yeah, finally,
when you after a day or two, could you tell, other than they cracked your chest, all the surgery, but was it like, I feel so much better just from the way your heart was working?
Yeah, you know what I noticed?
Yeah.
I noticed that that his feet were warm,
Yeah.
and prior to that, his feet had always been freezing cold.
Right.
And I noticed that right away. His hands and his feet
Wow.
were warm.
What's your ejection fraction
So that
now?
new
Do you know,
heart was
Kevin?
doing-
Do you know
Yeah.
what's your
What's
EF,
that?
your ejection fraction? Do you know what it is today?
No. 55 to
Cool.
60.
So right back to normal. Yeah.
It is. It's totally back to normal, and So yeah, I'm. The only thing is when you come out of transplant, I mean, so I went in weighing 208 pounds. I came out weighing 245, and I looked like Jabba
Because
the
of
Hutt.
fluid.
You're carrying so much. You got so much fluid. My legs were actually that big, but they looked like two giant
Oh my
sausages.
God.
And so, Kevin, so
was
now we're at this point now, you're what, 5 years out? Is it almost six? Almost six. So you get a heart transplant. It's just like, okay, I'm good to go. There's quite a regimen of medications that you have to do on a daily basis, correct?
It's not
No
as bad
kidding.
as you would
No,
think.
not-
It
not-
was a lot worse before
Way
transplant.
worse.
than it
That's
is
great.
now.
Cool.
I take 2 rejection medicines and 1 low statin, which is protocol, because my cholesterol is at 100. So I mean, I have very low cholesterol anyway. So I mean, I've been blessed. I don't have any other issues.
Yeah.
Just
I have to talk about cardiac rehab. In the book, I really loved how you and Jimmy met, and Lori, I love yours. Was it Sarah? Was that her? Who's the gal? Her Jimmy's wife.
Oh, Kelly Taylor.
Kelly. Sorry, where I came up. Well, Kelly. At first, I think your first impression, Kelly, wasn't positive, but you became, I guess, I don't know what to describe it. Sisters in the battle. You became warriors together, and Jimmy and Kevin, became. And I saw this in rehab so often, and it was organic. We always talked about, can we match guys up? Because they really help inspire each other. They hold each other accountable. They motivate each other, and they make each other feel better. And we try to make it you can't. It's just either it happens or it doesn't. And I picked that up in the book that Jimmy and Kevin became kind of workout buddies.
Bond you and Jimmy have, Kevin.
I'd like to meet Jimmy someday, even though I don't think he and I have a lot. He's a roofer. Yes. I don't think him and I have much in common other than you. But he sounds like a cool dude. And I loved you said he was butt ugly strong.
Yes, right. So I mean, so when we came out of transplant, Jimmy likes doesn't necessarily like to be told what to do. But I built, we had built a relationship before, and then when we went into CARD, he basically started doing what I did. So I hadn't, but I had lifted, I was lifting weights a year and a half before that. So during this whole process, I was still lifting until the final steps. But anyway, he came in and he was just, he's just a strong guy. He'd been
manual
doing
labor,
like roofing for years and years. So yeah, and he liked the challenge. Once he got going on it, we became
you fed off of
tight.
each other, which is amazing.
I think and Lori's book kind of comes to that support system, that mutual. We're not in this alone. And I know, I'm going to kind of bring it up to, at the end of your book, there's lessons learned during times of uncertainty.
I love that.
And those, I think these could be blown up and made into a poster and sold separately.
Me too.
And I think people would love to have them. And I guess, and you came up with these, Lori, I assume. Are you and Kevin? Yeah.
I did.
And I'm not going to read all of them. I'm going to want people to buy your book and read them, and then they can blow them up and make posters out of them and put them in their workplaces. There it is. In fact, I've been kind of cheating and looking at mine. I do want a signed, when I come to Sioux Falls, we're going to be in Sioux Falls, I think in June, around the 4th of July. We're going to go out for a meal, and I'm going to bring my book, and I'm going to get a signature.
Awesome.
What's your life like today? You guys, are you back to just, hey, we're back to where we were in 2012, 13. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to make note of, since you guys know Todd Sheldon, I just want to mention, can you imagine anybody better by my side than Todd Sheldon? I mean, master scientist, but yet he is a calm, calm guy who sat in waiting rooms with me for hours upon hours upon hours, never irritated me because he's just such a calm, easy guy to have around. I mean, God just placed him in my life because he knows the heart better. I think I said it in the book. Todd knows the heart better than God does. And it was, I couldn't imagine a better guy.
I mean, from the doctors to the friends to your daughters to
Mark
to Todd, everybody that was involved. It's like, to raise a family, it takes a village, and you guys had an incredible. I'm going to get choked up now. Incredible village. So, Lori, okay, how can our listeners get that book of yours? And I would recommend it to anybody. Whether you
give it as a gift.
It's an amazing book.
Yeah, I think it comes from the caregiver perspective. And so I have found since writing the book, it's amazing to me how almost every female will find themselves in the role of caregiver at some point in their life. And I think it doesn't matter what the medical issue is. I think they will find some connection by reading this book from hearing the caregiver's point of view. So, we landed on the title of Change of Heart. Kevin kind of helped me with that. Yeah. And my picture is on the cover of the book because there is a lot of books called Change of Heart, but there's not many of them that have my picture.
Lori Sheldon. Just remember Lori Sheldon, because if you got the author, you're good.
Yeah, so if you go on Amazon, you can find it in all versions. It's on Audible, it's on Kindle. All the versions are available on Amazon.
Thank you so much. We've done 41 of these, and I'm not going to pick my favorite, but this one is right up there. And just I'm getting chills again. And the fact that you two are so cute.
Well, you guys, just this morning, I called Dunn. I said, this is what I said to him. I go, do you think we have enough stuff to fill 45 minutes? My gosh, we could keep on talking longer.
Oh, I've got lots of questions, but we might have to do another one sometime.
Absolutely wonderful. We can't thank you we just can't thank you enough. God has blessed you, and God has blessed us with being able to interview you guys, and we just we want to thank everybody for listening today. If you have any questions for us or comments about the show, you can contact us directly at our website at beardsanddunnpod.com, or please leave us a comment on our Facebook, Instagram, or X, all at Beards and Dunn Pod.
Yeah, if you're on YouTube, of course. Hit the comment. Yeah, no, thank you two, and good luck. If there's anything we can ever do to help you promote your book, I'd be happy to do whatever I could.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
So I'm looking forward to it.
Kevin, we're going fishing, personally, buddy.
Yep. There you go. Now I want to go out for a meal. Let's do that.
All
right. Take care, you guys. Have a great day.
Yep. Bye-bye.
All right, take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.